in life, you have to be an ass kicker, but the first ass you have to kick is your own. You know, so we're all cut from the same cloth, regardless of what the special ops is and what service it is. Those guys just quit is not an option, and it's not a chest pounding mantra. You just don't consider it. Don't even freaking entertain the thought if you're not even going to give it a half-assed effort. Just start whatever it is you are planning on. That's all it takes to get the ball rolling, is just a little bit of momentum, just a foot in the door. And there are no barriers that guy won't go through to save your life if you are in danger. There are none, zero. This is sweat equity, bro. This is freedom through discipline. Stress is a killer. And so I'm at that point right now where, man, I don't care about anything. I've gotten to that point, which is a nice place to be. I'm a freaking SEAL, I'm a Green Beret, blah, blah, you know, just chest pounding and do more. Get up, get down, freaking do push-ups, run harder, stop being a sissy. That's not my vibe. Dare to be a man. Please, men out there, dare to be a man. It's okay.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and this is your podcast for leadership, inspiration, and impact. Today's guest is Pat McNamara, combat-proven leader and master instructor who spent 22 years in the U.S. Army, including time in its most elite special missions unit. Pat retired as a sergeant major and has since founded T-Max Inc., where he trains law enforcement, military, and civilians in performance shooting and mindset across the country. He's the author of TAPS and Sentinel, creator of the Basic Dude Stuff movement, which we're definitely going to get into, and co-host of University of Badassery. He was introduced to us by our mutual friend, Dr. Trevor Wilkins, and it's an honor to have you on the show, brother. Welcome.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks everybody out there in podcast land. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
I love the University of Badassery name too. Yeah. And that's your podcast, right?
Yeah, and it's, it's not, the name is misleading, it's not that we're saying we're badasses, CJ and I, my co-host, my business partner, saying that in life you have to be an ass kicker, but the first ass you have to kick is your own.
Ooh,
so
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, let's take it back. What kind of a kid were you growing up? Like, what was discipline or toughness a part of your life early on?
No. I was a very gentle ADD kid, not super copy and paste. I was my own person. You know what I mean? I had all of the real sissy hobbies. I mean, like I was watching birds at age 10, and I still am an avid bird watcher. I was always into the outdoors though, always just get me outside so I could pick flowers and watch birds, ride my unicycle and all kind of goofy stuff like that. But I was very gentle until life forced a metamorphosis on me. However, I still had great work ethic. I mean, I was the kind of kid who had a bank account at age 14. So at age 14, I had a bank account. My mom told me, she said, you can't have this amount of cash in your room, because my brothers were pieces of shit, and they just would have robbed me. And it was, several $100s. It was like $600-700 I had cash in my room as a 14-year-old. And this is in the 70s. I was very business savvy. I had a business basically, Connecticut, so 4 seasons. So I had recurring customers. You shovel in the winter, you till in the spring, you mow in the summer, and you rake in the fall. And between those folks, they kept me in the green. And also I had a paper route where I had 72 customers. Yeah, so I was making bank at a young age, But as far as like toughness and anything, I was very meek and mild until life forced it on me. I had an older brother who tormented me. I mean, just tormented me. It was nonsense. He was relentless. I was easy prey, and the other kids would too. I was easy prey. I was a very gentle, meek, bright red freckled face kid, and I was just easy prey. So I got picked on a lot. When my brother went to prison the first time, I was 15 years old, and I had 2.5 years to get ready for his return. That's what a neighbor of mine told me. A neighbor said, "Hey, you have 2.5 years to get ready for Kevin's return." And I'm like, "What do you get ready?" And he said, "To get ready, for his return. He's going to come out of prison all cocky with dumbass jailhouse tats and think he's more of a badass and all this stuff." And I did. And 2.5 years is plenty of time when you're a teenager, 15, 16, 17 years old, to learn how to fight, to get physically super strong, to pack on muscle, and when he came out of prison, I jacked him up. He started shit with me right away, and I jacked him up. And it was a really good feeling. It was my first a big victory against an adversary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted more of that.
On August 7th, this horse arena turns from arena to the ultimate venue for growth. Tickets are limited. They're selling fast. Do not be on the outside looking in. Go to bridgebuilder.live to reserve your spot today. So maybe this leads us into it, but this has got to be one of the most interesting transitions I'm going to make. You go from unicycle riding to the military. What drew you to the Army at that young age?
Well, as part of my prep for Kevin's return, I started wrestling in high school, and I sucked bad. I mean, just horrible. But I stuck with it. I had a great coach, and in my second year, I won a match. And all season long, and that feeling, it's like that feeling of victory, because I owned that victory. That was me that did that. It wasn't a team effort, really. That was mine. And I wanted more of that. So I went to the college during summer vacation and practiced with the college kids. And, they know that they're great. They're collegiate athletes, and I suck. So they appreciated the fact that I was self-governed and that I wanted to get better at wrestling. And in the meantime, I'm getting stronger. I'm packing on muscle. My cardio is out of bounds. And my in 11th and 12th grade, I couldn't be beaten. I was state champion. Broke records, takedowns, and all this stuff. And I needed more of that, that team camaraderie and that being the ability to be self-governed and become rewarded, from being self-governed, self-driven, self-motivated. So the military was really the only option for me. I wanted all of it. I wanted the challenge. I loved to be challenged, and I still do today. And I went to, it's kind of funny because I had no idea what I wanted to do in the military. I just wanted to be a badass. I was a typical dumbass 17-year-old kid. And so I went to recruiting row, and talked to each one of the recruiters and basically asked them all the same question. What's the hardest thing I could do in the Navy, in the Marine Corps, in the Air Force, in the Army? And the Army at the time had the best answer for me, because they had kind of access to fast track in badassery, not like waiting around and by the luck of draw, you may get into this or that. The Army had two options, Ranger contract or Special Forces contract. So you could sign a contract, and barring that you made all the preliminary steps, you could go to Ranger School or the Special Forces course. And I signed up for Special Forces. Not an easy path as a kid, as an 18, 19-year-old, not. And this was a brand new thing in the military, allowing new recruits to sign up for Special Forces. I was the first of what is considered to be an 18 X-ray or SF baby, Special Forces baby. I was one of the very first, and a lot of bumps along the way. Infantry basic training, I smoked that. I was distinguished honor graduate. As soon as I got to jump school, I got hurt, hospitalized for several months. I was what is referred to as a towed jumper, where you jump out of the aircraft with the static lines and you release the static line. But what happened is static line got caught in my equipment and around my arm and drug me with the plane. So it pulled my bicep into my forearm, broke ribs, dislocated shoulder, concussion. So I ended up being hospitalized for a long time right off the bat. And then made it back through jump school, and then into the Special Forces course, and had several failures in there as well, and had to recycle through certain phases of it. So yeah, the start sucked. Matter of fact, the first several years sucked. It was one failure after the other, but I was able to get redemption on each one of my failures, every one of them. Because I failed.
What was it that you? Let me ask you there. Stop you real quick. Because you just described like major injury, you're in hospital, you talk about some other failures. What was it in you that you wanted to overcome each of those and continue on? Because to have this illustrious 22-year career in the military from getting your ass kicked right out the gates.
Yeah, it's kind of common with guys in special ops. There is no quit in those guys. There is no... we're all cut from the same cloth, regardless of what the special ops is and what service it is. Those guys just have, quit is not an option, and it's not a chest pounding mantra. You just don't consider it. There's no consideration of, well, shit, I could just go down the road, take the easier path, and have a long career in the military or half of a career, and just accept mediocrity. There is none of that. There's not even a thought of it. There's not, nobody gives you a pep talk. You have to be self-driven. In any of the special ops units, in any of the services, you've got to be driven. You've got to be motivated, but it's self-motivated. You don't need somebody else to motivate you. It's all. It all comes from within, and most all of the special ops guys, they're, like I said, we're all cut from the same cloth. There is no option. I failed so many times in my career, so many times, and never did I consider, well, screw that, I'm not going to do that again. I could just go this route instead. It's just not enough. It's not something that even crosses your mind ever, not even.
How has that served you now? Because I think that's one of the things where people really struggle. They think that, well, I'm going to try this, or I have this business idea, and if it doesn't work out, here's my backup plan. Like, that's clearly served you, not just in the military, in life. And if you're talking to someone that maybe doesn't have that attitude right now, what's your message to them?
All right. So I have these conversations all the time with people. I go to... I'm not a big social person, but I get out of the house every day. And at least 4 times a week, I go to my local pub and I chat with, my peer group there. And every once in a while I have somebody younger. And what really freaking gets my goat is when they say, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this. And I go, well, just go ahead and do it, to do the thing that you're. And they're like, what do you mean? I says, you could start right now, bro. You have a supercomputer in your hand. Secure the RAL. I dare you. I dare you to be different, motherfucker. I'm thinking about doing this. Well, go ahead and do it. You've got a supercomputer in your hand. Just secure the URL for that business idea that you have. And they'll get cold feet immediately. And I'll say, well, apparently you're not thinking about it too hard. So don't even bore me with this, man. Don't even freaking entertain the thought if you're not even going to give it a half-assed effort. Because I think when people fizzle out easily because they don't even try to get their foot in the door. Yeah. I know so many people like that who are I'm thinking about doing this. I would like to do this thing. Well, go ahead and do it. You don't have to, act on it and put 100% into it right now, but at least start the fire. Just start the fire. Later on, you could throw some kindling on it, and then once it's ignited, then you could throw some more wood on it and get that thing to burning, man, and get it to blazing after that, But right now, just start whatever it is you are planning on, or what is on your wish list, not planning on, because and usually that's all it takes, to get the ball rolling is just a little bit of momentum, just a foot in the door, man. I've acted on. I don't think I've ever done that ever in my life, saying, you know what, I'm thinking about doing this, and then never acted on it. I don't think I've ever done that. And it could be the most minuscule thing. I think I've acted on all of them. Now I do, however, I do run it by a sanity check through my wife, my executive assistant, because I have ideas, and now it's one of these things where I tell her, I said, Rebecca, I have an idea and I'm kind of in love with it. So let me down easy. Okay. If you think it's a dumb idea, because I'm ready to go balls deep into this thing. And thankfully, she'll either squelch it or encourage me based on whatever this thought or idea is, because otherwise I'd be acting on everything, which isn't a good thing either.
Well, you stated you're ADD like me, which a lot of entrepreneurs are, right? So we have a lot of ideas, and visionaries, are great at coming up with great ideas. And sometimes we have some really shitty ideas as well.
Yep.
But we have a lot of ideas. And so, but if there's that one idea that you can't let go of, you need to take Pat's advice. If that idea keeps coming back to you over and over and over again, God put something in your heart that he wants you to act on. Right. Now, on those ancillary ideas where we're just coming up, an advisor that used to work for me, he had a great associate, or still has a great associate, but she has Carl's idea journal right next to her computer. Mm-hmm. And anytime he would come back by her office, she'd write down his idea, but her system was only if he brought it up twice would she take it seriously. Right? Because he has a lot of ideas like Pat and I have a lot of ideas. Some of those are just fleeting thoughts. We're just getting that thought out of our head. But if there's that one that just keeps percolating through your soul, that's God's message to you to act on something. So take the advice that Pat did there.
Absolutely. And you brought up one thing that I tell people all the time. And I use that term right there that you said, thoughts are fleeting. Write it down. Because they are. Because you could come up with an idea and have it sort of worked out in your head, and you'll say, I get to it later. You know what? Gone out of your head. The other thing with ideas, I tell this to people all the time, because now when I go to my pub, a lot of times I'll conduct counseling over a pint. My pub peeps, my friends at the pub will say, hey man, I got an idea. Can I run it past you? And I say, heck yeah. Come on, let's go whiteboard. Let's sit up here at this table, grab a pint. The other thing I tell them is, if it's a good idea, I go, hey man, do yourself a favor. Don't tell anybody else about this. because people nowadays suck, and there's a lack of creativity and imagination, and they will snatch a good idea from you. It's so fast it'll make your head spin. So don't tell, only trusted agents, man. I am not going to say anything, I swear to God, but please don't tell anybody else, or if you do, tell them not to say anything, because it could. If you have a good idea, let's say it's either a business idea or something tangible like a widget, even your most trusted assets can, by happenstance and completely innocently, tell somebody, and that person could say, I wonder about this thing. And they could act on it. So yeah, those two things, huge, man. Thoughts are fleeting, and then be careful with whom you align and with whom you share ideas.
Yeah, I love writing the idea down. So if you want a really tangible takeaway right here, Pat already said you got a supercomputer in your hand. The notes, if you have an Apple user and you're not a weirdo, just throw that out there. But if you're an Apple user, there's the notes, the app that comes on your phone automatically. Yep. And you can create a subfolder, and that's your idea folder. And then every fleeting thought that you have that you want to capture, just put it right in that folder. And then have some time where you're going to spend time with that folder and actually marinate on those ideas that you're putting in there. But that's just a tactical thing. One of the things I do is if I have a to-do, I put it in my reminder app. And I set a day and a time that that's going to happen, and it's going to remind me so that I don't lose it, because there are times where I have that idea, hey, I got to follow up on that or with that person. And then if I don't mark it down, it's likely that I'm going to forget. So I use that reminder app, and I use the notes app on a daily basis. So a real tangible takeaway. So you, just going back to the military real quick before we move on to the leadership entrepreneur, you served in some of the most elite units in the world. And I always like to ask special operators questions around this. What was the culture like in those teams? Was there a unique thread that really shaped your leadership style and appreciation for being a part of those teams?
So what specifically you said, was there a
specific culture that existed in those teams that really shaped you and your leadership coming out of that?
Well, part of it we already touched on, right? Is the no, absolute no quit attitude, and I'm gonna defer mainly to my last 13 years in the military, because I was in the unit on Fort Bragg, top tier unit on the planet, and everybody there. Prior to me going to Delta, I was always top performer in the Green Beret units I was in. I spied on the Soviet Army in Soviet East Germany during the Cold War. When I got to Delta, I was no longer top performer. I was run of the mill. I was top of the mediocre crew. That's where I was. Everybody there, every single person there, always strove to be at the top of the heap in the top tier unit, and it was never possible. Never possible. The culture was so cool in that, number one, you were always on the bubble. They were very serious about the professionalism and keeping the culture the same that it has always been. So they would reserve the right to fire your stinking butt at any second of any day of any month of any year. And it was people got fired all the time. And when I talk about the firings to, like, let's say other military guys or LEOs and such, they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah. Or they dock pay, those kind of things. It was a very, very serious run organization because we did very serious work. I kind of muse over a few stories about, people, the caliber of person that was there. Like, I always wanted to be at the top of the heap. So one of the things, in order to get there, you had to work out more, right? Exercise more. You were allotted a workout time. 10:30 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon was your workout time and lunch. But I would come in before work too, practice mixed martial arts, or run the O course, or do stuff in the dark, run to the range, those kind of things. And somebody was always there before me, always, so I'd say, well, I'll come in half an hour earlier than that. There'd be guys finishing when I wanted to go in to start, at 5:30. I'm like, what the hell? So I would go in earlier. I remember one morning I went in and we had the lofts in our squadron bays, and upstairs in the loft was like boxing gym, mixed martial arts gym, heavy bags, tie bags, and I climb up into the loft. I'm going to do an hour worth of bag work before I go run the obstacle course. I flick on the lights, big, gigantic industrial lights, and there's a dude sleeping with his K-vest on his helmet, and his gas mask is on his face while he's sleeping. And I was like, what? And the lights woke him up, and he rolls over. He's fully dressed, and he starts doing push-ups. I'm like, damn, man, I can't win here, But I absolutely loved my time there. I mean, 13 years, and it was a great culmination to a very cool military career.
No, that's a great story because, you're with the best of the best, and they're all fighting over that spot. And no matter what you're doing, to try and wake up earlier, to try and do it, like that's the team and environment that I want to be part of, or the team that I want to lead is people that are all striving to be better and helping each other get better at the same. You want to have those oars rowing in the same direction and all striving to be the best of the best. That's
right.
I mean, that just being in that environment has to be extraordinarily inspiring.
Yeah. And, and I know that there's like corporations of like ex-military guys who kind of replicate, sort of what they went through for corporate America. SEAL training for 3 days, or take you in the woods with freaking Army Rangers for 3 days, that kind of thing. I mean, cool, good experience, but damn, man, it's a hard thing to replicate. You know what I mean? Even to get a taste of, just a taste, it's a very, very tough thing to replicate. And the other portion of that is you're with people that are the most high caliber people on the planet. You're talking 0.001% of 0.001% of the people, on the planet. And you develop a very intimate relationship with these other individuals because you've seen them at their best, you've seen them at their worst, you've seen them elated, you've seen them scared, you've seen them hungry, tired, miserable. And so these are people that are not going to stop at anything. There is no obstacle. There are obstacles. There are no barriers that guy won't go through to save your life, if you are in danger. There are none, zero. I mean, I've seen people do extraordinary things with absolute disregard for their own safety whatsoever. Zero.
Man. So you get out of the military and you choose to go into teaching, right? So what inspired you instead of being like the participant on some of the, the 0.0001% of 0.001% of people, right? Because in a lot of that, you're going from being the best of the best. And a lot of those people are used to being individualistic and not necessarily known as being the best teachers. You take it from the NFL, for example. Mm-hmm. The very best NFL players typically don't make the best coaches.
Exactly. Yep.
You go into being a world-class teacher. What inspired you and what really has made you a great teacher?
Well, I did some of it while I was still active duty. I was training, OTC operator trainers course, right? So new recruits into the unit. And I just had a knack for it. Some people do and some people don't. And I agree with you 100%. I've said this many times. You got to be the right person who's going to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. You got to know how to streamline stuff. You've got to know, you've got to have the right delivery. And you've got to work with the skill set disparity of folks. You've got to be able to tailor your training. So when I retired, I got recruited by corporate America initially to build a training department for them. I did it for almost 5 years. I got laid off, which was scary because what does that even mean? I was 22 years in the military. You're never thinking about job security. And now I'm working for a corporation when I retired that are all retired military guys. You're still not, it's not even on a burner, let alone front or back burner. You're not thinking about job security. And then it happens, laid off. What do I do now? I have bills to pay. So I generated my own company immediately. T-Max Inc. Boom. And that corporation laid me off because it was a money thing. They wanted contractors instead of full-time employees. Yeah. But they always said the same thing. They said, yeah, we could just hire any one of you guys to teach. And I'm like, no, you can't. So when I got laid off, people were calling for me, and that corporation was saying, oh, no, we don't have Pat Mac, but we have this. We have this guy and this guy. And they were like, nah, we want Pat Mac. It's just like, it's a brand. They're buying the brand. They don't want new Coca-Cola, or Coke Zero. They want original. They don't want Tab. They want Coca-Cola. Most
of the listeners probably don't even know what Tab is.
Right. But for real, because I had established a brand, I made myself into something, and people wanted to buy that thing. So I got business right away, immediately. As soon as I generated T-Max, and they were all government contract stuff. Man, I can tell you horror stories about that stuff too. I mean, just broad brushing it. I got government contracts immediately: Secret Service, State Department, Border Patrol, U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps. And I was just on a roll for 3 years until 2013, sequestration. The light switch for government contract cash cow went off. I mean, harsh reality. Here it is. Take your medicine. No money. And your calendar's full for the year. All government contract. And it all just went away. Just like that. Gone. Meanwhile, you got debt because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul and all this stuff, And now you go, what the hell do I do now? Yeah. Because you just went through a real nasty divorce, and you had to assume $80,000 of credit card debt, that kind of thing. So now you got to pull yourself out of that hole. But lessons learned down that lesson right there was don't put all your eggs in one basket, and multiple revenue streams. But I learned so many things being my own guy. I mean, the ebbs and flows for me were they weren't peaks and valleys. They were like mountains and river bottoms. When people talk about ebbs and flows and being an entrepreneur, being your own person, dude, I was in deep holes and high peaks. But now, everything, it took a while to figure stuff out and to just maintain a nice, even flow and a steady incline. Just steady incline.
Those are painful lessons to learn, but at the same time, they're good lessons to learn, because I feel like all entrepreneurs face them at some point. Maybe not putting all your eggs in one basket. Some may that may happen to, and some may not. When you talk about multiple revenue streams, say a little bit more about that, because sometimes I see business owners, they hear that and they go and not do it in their same vertical, right? So they have a real estate business and then they open up a restaurant. And right? So you're talking about multiple revenue streams within your field of scope, correct?
Yes. I'm talking like primary and alternates.
Yes. Just wanted to clarify, because some people get that really wrong.
Right. Yep. It's all within, it's all organic to me. It's all within my bandwidth. It's all within, I'm working within my pay grade, all that stuff. It's all stuff that's very organic to me. For instance, and a lot of it, I don't work my ass off on. And a lot of them, they're trickle funds. Trickle funds are nice too. Mailbox money. A couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, those kind of things. Because I have 3 books, 10 DVDs, and once you spend the money on doing this stuff, you make it back quick. And now it's just like, oh shit, here's a check for $1,500. Where'd this come from? I don't even know anymore. It's like one of those. Yeah, everything that I do outside of my primary business, T-Max Inc., the training thing, is very organic to me, and it's and I don't have to jump through hoops or jump through my ass to keep those things running anymore. Now, that all comes with a price, though, right? Freedom through discipline. You've got to work your ass off for an allotted amount of time. How much is that? I don't know, but guys in their 30s can't say, oh, when they say, oh, you're lucky because you're as busy as you want to be. It's like, I'm not lucky. This is sweat equity, bro. This is freedom through discipline. I mean, I worked and I mean, I grinded so hard for so freaking long. Case in point, between 2010, T-Max started, and 2020, pandemic, coronacation, I was doing 4 courses a month, which are 2-day courses. 15 guys would show up for those 4 courses a month for 10 years. Each one of those courses were in a different state. Most of them I was flying to. So Friday you fly, you drag all your crap, 2 big Pelican cases to an airport. You got 4 guns, you got all your gear, you drag it to an airport. You get to that freaking shitty town, you pick up your shitty rental car, you check into your shitty hotel, you go check out your shitty range, you do your 2-day course, you fly back on Monday, and then everything starts going again. You do all your administrative work, you do all your registration, you do all of your maintenance. You plan on the next course, you start printing everything out. By Thursday, you're almost done, and Friday morning you take off again. 10 years, 4 courses a month, 0 breaks, zero. I would, when people say, hey, can I schedule a call with you? Like if I'm doing email, I was planning minutes. I would say, yeah, next Tuesday at, 13:32, that kind of stuff. If you want to call me, I'm not kidding. That's how little time I have. But it was like self-perpetuating. I couldn't, the wheels on the bus type of thing. I couldn't let the momentum slow because I didn't know what the next year would bring.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, during that time, though, I still was able to generate a couple small things. For instance, I built online programming, combat strength training, right? So that's my thing, combat strength training. And that started doing well. So I was like, oh, so maybe I could dial back a little bit, pull the reins back a little bit because I have this other business. And then, pumped out a couple more books. So more trickle funds started coming in. Oh, I could dial back a little bit more maybe. And then I started selling exercise gear. I invented my own type of resistance band. And I did that in 2019. So 2020 hits, right? What happens? March 2020. I back up a step. January 2020. My year calendar is right here. I'm looking at it, and it's daunting. I mean, it was crushing my spirits. It was filled, and I was running out of energy. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this year. I have no idea how I'm going to make it. And then March, lockdown, coronacation.
Everything goes off the calendar.
Yeah, the election infection, And I'm like, to me, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best vacation ever, and then retool. I got a chance to retool everything. So I reimbursed everybody that was up there. I cut, I don't know how much, because by 2018, I stopped robbing Peter to pay Paul and started building, a surplus. So I had cash. So I was able to reimburse everybody who signed up with a deposit. And then in 2019, like I said, I developed the resistance bands that get you some T-Max resistance bands. So what did everybody need in 2020? Home gym stuff.
Home workout equipment. Yep.
Bro, I became the rubber band man. I mean, like making a living selling rubber bands to the point where my wife and I almost felt bad about it because we were watching news and people were hurting. So we donated to charities, boys and girls clubs, that kind of thing, because kids were hungry. So,
Yep.
Just send an assload of money to Moore County Boys and Girls Clubs because they were making kids breakfast and lunches. Because a lot of kids, that's where they were getting fed at schools.
The food.
And it was
Well, yeah, because most of the time school is their only meal.
Yeah, that's it. So it was breaking our hearts, So thankfully, it was a real blessing that we were able to have this revenue and this source of income, and that we're able to give back because we were heartbroken. Just the notion of kids being hungry broke our hearts. And I remember out in the backyard watering. It was early on, and I said, Rebecca, what can we do? We need to do something because people are hurting, and we're not. And it's unconscionable, to think about kids being hungry. So thankfully I have a POC at the in our county's Boys and Girls Clubs. And I called her and she said, absolutely, send money. Yeah. Because we're feeding just like thousands of kids in the county.
Yeah. It's good on you for taking that initiative, because that was a hard time for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not boasting. It's not about hubris. It's about, case in point about having those multiple revenue streams and stuff like that. And it's just part of the anecdote. I'm not trying to say, look at me, I'm a good guy, because I don't roll that way. But and then I became. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you. So I was just thinking through. I wanted to pivot a little bit because you train Leos all across the country. And we've gotten a lot of great leadership stuff from you so far in the entrepreneurial journey. I want to make sure in our time together, Leos have been, especially over the last 5 years through the George Floyd and the BLM movement, and now we got, border control during the Biden years, and now we got Trump getting people out of the country that don't belong here. So Leos have had their backs up against the wall and bastardized and all the different things torn down.
Oh yeah.
What are you seeing across the country with law enforcement that's going right and what's going wrong?
Well, I think with this administration, there's a lot more is going to go right. So funding is going to come back for training, and I think it's going to buoy their spirits. You know what I mean? Having somebody on their side, having an administration who is on LEO's side. I'm a big fan of LEOs. Anytime I went to go to train him, I always start out the same way. I go, I appreciate the world in which you live. It's a world riddled with ambiguity where you have to be the masters of adaptability. You're damned if you don't. You're damned if you do. You're in constant fear of litigation liability, and there's a freaking lawsuit attached to every round you fire. So I'm a big fan. And what I love is when LEOs seek out training, because if they seek it out, like if they come to me for training, dude, they're paying out of their own pocket. They're paying for that course out of their department's not paying for it. Their department isn't doing shit for them. They're paying their own way, and they're buying their ammo, to come and train. But I think that, like I said, their spirits will be buoyed some because of this administration has their back. It's in the past, I don't know how many years, man, they've just been, demonized, bro. Demonized. Yeah. And I've worked with and very rarely do I meet an LEO who is, one of those guys. You know what I mean?
One of the bad guys, yeah.
One of the bad
the media paints all of them as, yeah.
Right. Man, the stories. And here's the other thing now. I've been, it's a completely different world, right? Military, law enforcement, completely different. What I tell LEO is if you get a call, let's say for domestic violence, that's all you heard. You're in your patrol car, you're going to the scene of domestic violence. If you're not in your head imagining 6'5", 350-pound naked redneck standing on his front porch with an AK in one hand and a severed head in the other, you're already behind the power curve. Because you have no idea what you're gonna find when you show up. So they live in this world where they have to exercise adaptability. And I like to define adaptability as using your existing knowledge, have a positive response on emerging situations. So, and because a lot of times they're either solo or just in a team of two, they can be outnumbered so fast and with minimum training.
Say your definition of adaptability again, because this is so key for businesses as well as LEO officers.
Yeah, so using your existing knowledge, have a positive response on emerging situations.
That's so good.
So, the thing is, you can't script stuff. You could can stuff in training, for instance, and say, hey, when the door opens, I'm going to go left, you go right. And then we'll go down this hall, and then we'll clear the next 3 rooms sequentially. That ain't going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like in close quarter battle, it's not going to happen that way ever. You going through the door, you go left, I go right. That's going to happen. Then everything changes after that. Everything. You can't script. You can't script out even a business plan. You have to be adaptable and be adaptable immediately. You have to be able to go into contingency planning mode immediately, because through analysis comes paralysis. So you have to have the ability to shift gears in a nanosecond without it seeming like you're grinding gears or like there's haste, because haste is not a good thing. You've got to be systematic about it. But yeah, man. So I don't know where I was on that thought. I was all
we were talking through. I sidetracked you a little bit with
LEOs,
asking about the adaptability, but the LEOs and what you're seeing leadership, good and bad, across the country.
Yep. Yeah, and like the guys up there, that I worked with, man, those guys were sharp. I mean, like sharp, man.
And Madison's had a good force.
Yep.
Yeah. So we were talking before we got on air. So Pat's come up to Madison to train a number of times. And former police chief, Caval, I had him on the show a number of years ago. Great dude. And and this was a lot of time, this was when the BLM stuff was going on, and he had just retired. And Madison had a cop on civilian shooting years before that. And what Chief Caval told us is like all of the demands the BLM had, at least in Madison, they were already doing all those things.
Right.
And so it was interesting to note, but as the public, we didn't know the training that they were getting on DEI. We didn't know the trauma training they were getting. We didn't know that they're trained to de-escalate a situation to the degree they were. And he went into great detail on it, how their training was done and what they're supposed to do in any situation. So it's just interesting how the media comes out and bastardizes a whole population of people that protect and serve. And then at the same point, you got the left that's wanting to take away our guns while they're bastardizing the people that are supposed to protect them.
Yep.
If there's not a gun present to protect from a bad guy. It just makes zero sense to me. And it's just always been an interesting dichotomy.
I think people, regardless of what you're, speaking of what you just said right here, be careful with consumption, of news, because it's all fake. I don't care what news station you listen to. It's all fake. And they have this objective in mind: scared, angry, stupid. Scared, angry, stupid. That's what the media wants you to be, either a combination or at least one of those, because there's no money in the truth. There's no money in the truth.
I was just talking about this the other night with a friend. I was like, have you ever noticed that there's not a good news station?
Right.
Like there's no channel that you can turn on and they only do positive news. And that's because the media the media has understood one thing for decades. They understand human psychology. And the amygdala, a part of our brain, magnifies negativity by 200 times. So they've had a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. And they will give us the negative to keep us scared. Just like you mentioned, scared, stupid, and what was the other one?
Scared, angry, stupid.
Scared, angry, stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're hitting on all cylinders nowadays, it seems.
Yep. They are. I think people, you have to watch the news for entertainment value, and you can't just watch one station. I mean, my main feeds that I watch on IG, my main one is CNN, because they're I think the best at subliminal manipulation. Scared, angry, stupid. They're masters at it. I mean, it's all very, very laughable. But you pay attention to what and how they're saying, and then if you read the comments, and everybody buys into it. They all buy into it.
Yeah, here's a great example. I literally saved this morning to illustrate your point. So the Maryland man, quote unquote, wrongfully deported coverage, right? Mm-hmm. So the MS-13, everyone's heard of this guy that was supposedly wrongfully deported and in El Salvador. They've spent 143 minutes and 24 seconds on this guy.
Yep.
Between ABC, CBS, and NBC. So someone did this study. The woman who was killed in Maryland by an illegal immigrant, 12 seconds.
12 seconds.
Versus 143 minutes and 24 seconds.
Yeah, there's no money in it. There's no watch time in that other story. It's not captivating enough.
Well, it doesn't fit the narrative either.
Right. It doesn't fit the narrative. Not at all. Yeah. So just be wary, because when it comes to like way of life, stress is a killer. And so I'm at that point right now where, man, I don't care about anything. I've gotten to that point, which is a nice place to be. But man, people who watch the news, and especially if you buy into it, it's just gonna disrupt your way of life. Any kind of positive thinking, it's gonna cloud your vision and just get in your way of being productive. It's horrible.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about basic dude stuff. It's become a movement. Where did that idea start, and what's the bigger message behind it?
So, great question and great follow-up question. Because nobody's asked me that before. So 2019, I am with my bride, Rebecca. We're in the living room and I'm in zombie mode. I'm in Ranger panties, recliner, big glass of good bourbon, sipping it, watching TV, vegging out. And she says, hey, I'm going to order these new appliances. Because we needed new appliances matching, fridge, dishwasher, microwave, stove. And I said, right on, good. You're the boss of that stuff. And she goes, when we'll have our friend, Andres install him because he's a plumber. I said, Rebecca, I could install this stuff. She goes, huh? I said, Rebecca, I can install all this stuff. You don't need to hire anybody or plan on hiring. And she goes, yeah, I know you could do things, but there's plumbing involved. I said, Rebecca, I could do all of the stuff that dudes should know how to do. I can't build a house. I could fix a house. I can't build a car. I could fix a car. I could hunt it, kill it. I could hunt it, kill it, eat it. I could fix it, mend it, repair it. I could do all of the things, the basics things. Now, I can't do a lot of the advanced stuff, but I could do all of the stuff, the basic stuff that dudes should know how to do. And then it just came out, the basic dude stuff. And I went, oh my God. Thoughts are fleeting. I always have a notebook. I wrote that down immediately. Basic dude stuff. And we're watching TV. I sip on my bourbon and I start thinking, what should guys know? Not just guys, because it's all encompassing. What should we be able to do? So I just started jotting down, and I had 3 pages in 10 minutes. Everything from tying a double Windsor necktie to planting something and growing your own food to being able to change a baby's diaper to prepping your spouse a good meal to knowing cardinal directions, and it just went on and on and on. So I started, and she loved it immediately. I said, hey, I just had an idea, and she was like, oh boy. I said, I think I'm going to start a new thread online and call it Basic Dude Stuff. And because here's the thing, just 100 years ago, people, we human beings were, fun word, we're perspicacious. You know, we could do all of the things. You know, we had a myriad of skills. Now we can't. Dudes can't freaking change a 9-volt battery in a fire alarm. You know, men. You know that that wasn't that long ago where we could do all of the things.
Yeah,
and I think that went away. I think millennials were the last gen that weren't born with one of these in their hand.
yeah.
Everybody else was born with one in their hand. So I started pumping them out, and the response was mind-blowing. I mean, immediate. So fast that I immediately got it trademarked. Immediately. It grew so fast. I was like, holy crap. What the hell's going on here? This is amazing. So immediately, and trademark, and that's another thing for people. If you have an idea, you have whatever it is, a widget, man, secure that intellectual property. I've secured so much stuff, words and sayings and things and widgets. I mean, I do it all the time, man. You know, I own so many phrases, it's ridiculous. But that's one of them. And it talks about everything that it encompasses. Because it started being, because there's so many echoes out there. It was amazing how fast people started copying it. You know, basic dad stuff, basic mom stuff, basic kids stuff. It's all encompassing, bro. There's no, it's everybody. It's not basic wheelchair, basic cop, basic teacher stuff. It's all basic dude stuff. Stop being an echo. You know, back to in the beginning here, where the lack of creativity, you know, people don't have that creative genius. They need to snatch it from somebody else. So, now, unintentional, a year into it, not even a year into it, little kids started liking it. And they started sending me, you know, with their parents are filming them, you know, when they'll send it to me on IG, you know, making your bed, basic dude stuff. And I was like, oh, and it was all the time from all over the world. It became international in 6 months, basic dude stuff in 6 months. And it's not even monetized, you know, which is funny. So then I realized I gotta make these clean. You know, I can't say keeping a good ash on your cigar is big, because I did it at the beginning, stuff like that. You know, knowing how to pour a freaking pint, and so I took all the like booze and tobacco out of it, made sure clean, no language, clean. So primarily now, when people watch it, of course, you know, the tough guy who's bored and just unhappy is going to critique me on everything I do. Dude, this isn't for you. It's not for that 50-year-old badass who's an auto mechanic. It's for that kid. You know, it's for those Gen Zers. You know, it's for that 8-year-old. You know, or just for entertainment value. You know, for the rest of us. Because I want to show them to. My wife and I have the best freaking relationship. She is my best bud, and you know how people say that. Oh, my wife's my best friend, dude. I mean, we're joined at the hip. She goes away for a day, and I'm like, bro, you can't be gone from me this long. I mean, we are tight. But I want them to see that too, you know, just good energy, because in this day and age with social media, it's shrill, right? It's shrill, it's negative, it's chest pounding, especially in the vet community. I can't stand professional vets. I can't stand them. Yeah, I'm this, I'm a freaking SEAL, I'm a Green Beret, blah, blah, you know, what, just chest pounding and do more, get up, get down, freaking do push-ups, run harder, stop being a sissy. That's not my vibe. I don't care. You know, just live a good life, man. And I think BDS, basic dude stuff, kind of personifies that kind of attitude. You know, hey, be a good person, live a good life, learn stuff, you know, dare to be different, be your own person. Yeah. So it's really bloomed into a cool thing. And that's what I'm known for now. I mean, I just walked through the airport. I came back from Sedona, and that's what people yell to me now. Basic dude stuff, you know, from 3 terminals down.
I love it. It's a great message. And yeah, you're always going to have those internet haters, people that are dissatisfied and they just want to critique. But I
Right.
love the message behind it. All right, we're running tight on time here. I got two more questions for you.
Yep.
One of them being, what do you think our culture is missing when it comes to developing men of character?
Oof, boy, oh boy, oh boy. We've really become soft. I'm not going to go into that whole mantra of soft. What's that? Hard men create good times create soft men, all that, whatever, blah blah blah. But we've really become soft, flaccid, button pushing, myopic, 45-degree syndrome weenies. Just weenies, There's such a lack of men now, and men are frowned upon. Masculinity is frowned upon. Bro, dare to be a man. Please, men out there, dare to be a man. It's okay. And you're I just want a return to good, strong family values, being able to do stuff, being able to take care of your own person. I remember doing a podcast a couple years ago, and the guys were bleak, and they said, "What's your biggest fear?" It was during when Biden first got elected. What's your biggest fear in the next 4 years? I said, I'm not afraid of anything. My objective is to take care of myself so I can take care of my family, and nobody's going to stop me from doing that. So. And they were like, oh, my God, because they wanted to hear bleak messaging. They wanted me to tell them like, oh, yeah, this politics thing is out of control and this guy's going to ruin us. And I don't care. Yeah, it's not going to go my way every ounce of it, but I don't care. But yeah, I would like I would like to see people become human beings again, because we are devolving rapidly and we're slipping further and further away from our primal being. So get in touch with earth, go out in the morning with bare feet on, drink your coffee, don't pick up any devices or get on your computer for the first at least half an hour during your day. Get outside, go for a walk, wake with the sunrise, right? Get that freaking first bit of sun on your face. Don't be a troglodyte, because that's what we're becoming, troglodytes, and both freaking definitions of the word. That's what we're becoming. So I just think I want people to understand that we are devolving, and don't do it.
Don't buy into
Be a human being. We're amazing. Human beings are amazing.
True story. I mean, we're the most complex and unique creatures God created.
Yes,
so
100%.
Human beings are amazing.
And we're relinquishing it. We're giving it up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of why I bought this property, is to get people. And by the way, you'd love the bird watching out here.
Nice.
I got 80 acres, and
nice.
A big part of it was to get people away from these computer screens, away from the fluorescent lights, tap back into nature, tap back into themselves.
Yep.
And when they leave this property, they leave recharged and leave as a better human being. Excuse me. So you may have just hit this, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. My last question I always ask everyone is, what's an unpopular belief that you have or you believe to be true that most others would disagree with?
Ooh, oh shit, man, there is something. Damn it. I wish I had prepared for this. What's an unpopular belief that you have? Well, that's one right there. Because I've told people
that's what I figured. I was like, that's a dang good one. Yep.
And the other here's another one. Let me think about how I want to be as human as possible, to the point where I know, because we are capable of this. I know I could be, let's say, dropped into a boreal forest, like up there somewhere in Wisconsin, where it's thick, it's boreal and it's cloudy out, dropped into the forest and be able to determine which way north is, just because I am a human being. Because I think we are capable of that. We're people of the stars too, right? There's real energy from stars and planets and all this stuff. And we need to get back in touch with our primal being, because our primal being is badass. I mean, way more superior than we are. Way more. I mean, so I think that's a big one that when I tell people, they go, I don't know about that. I think we're more advanced now. Why? Because you have electronics and we have AI. That's not more advanced. That's making us stupider. That's making us dumb as hell. AI. Yeah, you don't need any more creativity, no more imagination. Just, talk to, what is it called? GB chat or something like that. I don't know.
Chat GPT.
Yeah, I don't know.
GB chat. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And we owe you a massive debt of gratitude for your service to our country. Thank you, brother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it, my man.
How can people follow you, find you? What's the best way?
Primarily, T-Max Inc. is what I'm go by, to TMACSINC. So T-Max Inc. is my IG handle. It's my webpage. It's where you could find just about everything. I've got a really cool YouTube channel too, Pat Mac, PATMAC. It's fun. It's very, it's very innocent and fun. Yeah. It's workout. It's basic dude stuff. It's podcasts, that kind of thing.
Love it. I was going to mention, yeah, and obviously the basic dude stuff. Got to follow and get your young boys out there following that along as well. This has been a great conversation. Appreciate you taking the time today, brother. It's been an honor to have you on. Spartans, you know what to do. Share this episode far and wide. Pat was dropping massive loads of knowledge, and we always appreciate that. Always remember, if you have the opportunity, if you learned something today, shoot them a DM. Let them know what you took away. They always appreciate it. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.